Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I see that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I'm the void.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Well, broadcasting from New York, upstate, near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I am your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM. Welcome back. It's Thursday, November the 5th. On in, actually, it's the 6th right now, where I'm at, on the East Coast. Welcome. If you never listened to the show before, we do a show about the exploration of consciousness, the human potential, and all of the usual stuff that you don't hear about on the radio, for the most part. I mean, if it's not politics or some goofy show. So we're like maybe the radio redneck version of Joe Rogan, I would say, but a lot shorter. Anyways. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we talk about here. If it's the first time you're listening, also, you can stay tuned for after the broadcast for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable, who happens to be, I believe, is he back yet or is he still out? Okay. No, he's still out. He's still hooking up. He's actually like updating his studio right now, and I've got to help him do that. But anyways, yeah, thanks for joining us. If you want to support this show, go to the lightingthevoid.com and then click on the Patreon banner or hit the donate button, or go to patreon.com/LTV radio, or grab some swag like my man Night Stalker did. He got one of those neck thingies. I don't know what they're called, but they're like masks and stuff. But the order here, I think it just went out here in New York, or upstate New York. I think it just went out there, or the mandate isn't here, but the private businesses can still like make you wear them and stuff, unfortunately. So, I mean, if you have to wear one, which I don't. I usually get pretty rebellious about it. And then I get the guilty look like I'm murdering people or something. But anyways, if you're going to get something, grab what Night Stalker's got. And you can join the chat room too by going to thefringe.fm/chat room. Man, I got to tell you, it was really cool to see. I know I've talked about the Fringe Fest a lot, and I'm still editing those videos. I'm going to get to you patrons. We'll get the Astral Journal going again. We'll get everything going again. Trust me. It's just we're we're going through a massive restructuring with the Fringe FM on many levels, and we have been for some time, but things are getting like official, I guess you could say. So we're going over a lot of, I don't know, all of the political paperwork, yada stuff. And so you're probably hearing a lot of replays on the station and stuff. So we got to get all that fixed and get it restructured and reorganized. I mean, these things going to get serious. Things are going to get serious, at least behind the scenes. We don't have to get too serious here. So, last night we were speaking with Darryl Malloy, and we were talking about personal sovereignty, and he told us his story about becoming a druid. And, I could tell you personally some of the stuff that I've went through now this is like the biggest time for change I've ever seen. Everything was weird, and we're in the twilight zone, and kind of still feel that way. And now things are changing. I mean, we went from Donald Trump to now Joe Biden is going to be president if the country doesn't kill each other over what voter fraud or whatever's going on out there. I don't know. I try not to pay attention to it because it just seems like ever since I was a kid, this stuff has been on TV, politics and scandals, politics and scandals, politics and scandals. That's all it's ever been for the past 30 something years of my life. Ain't nothing changed there. So, but there's all kinds of stuff going on around the world, all kinds of stuff. Paris is banning takeout food and alcohol at night because of COVID. I think the world sick map is growing. The Bitcoin value is jumping. There's Alaska got down to negative 40 degrees. You don't hear about that kind of stuff, though. What I am kind of concerned about, and I don't want to get you too worried, but what I am kind of concerned about is with this incoming president, we probably will have, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to think about it, mandated vaccines, or what they call vaccines. I don't know what the hell they are. They're not really vaccines. Not what we're used to anyways. And I just, I feel responsible as a broadcaster to tell you that I really think you guys should look into this and fight for your own sovereignty and your own personal rights here, because it's pretty invasive. That's about as invasive as anything can get if this stuff goes through. But I stressed this before the COVID stuff, and I kind of want to stress it now, and I know it's going to seem super woo-woo, but it's kind of the topic of the show tonight, is the power of belief. And this is something I have personal experience with, honestly. Yeah, when you watch Star Wars and you see like how they talk about the dark side and the power of the dark side, or when you watch the markets go up and down, when a market tanks, right, it always moves down faster and it'll climb a little slower. It'll make big jumps. But if you notice, when it tanks faster than it would if it made a big jump, most of the time, statistically speaking. But that's because it's easy to get into fear. And I have my own personal experience with this, and I can damn well tell you the ways that it has sabotaged good things in my life. And it's almost like, if I say, do we choose to enslave ourselves? Then of course, I know you know where I'm going with this. I'm not saying we manifested COVID and Joe Biden and vaccines, but I can tell you for sure that our fear about the situation and the giving into it instead of the focusing and on solutions and being optimistic and focusing on the moment and your communities and yourselves and what you can do where you're at, trying to lift people up, isn't going on enough. And I'm telling you, man, we got to come together now and take a stand. I don't want to get into the politics of it, but we got to take a stand before not just your sovereignty gets taken away. I don't want to get into the DNA of things, but here's why I hesitate to talk about it. Because if you believe that you're going to wake up in a world that's full of chaos and hate and just all kinds of bad stuff, then more than likely that's the world you're going to wake up in. It sounds crazy, but something is telling me that anything can change for you depending on your beliefs. I mean, think about it, right? Everything that you truly believe about your life, your world, the way the world is, the way everything is actually in your atmosphere. It's actually proven. You're observing it. You see it. Therefore, you believe it. But what you don't notice is the very subtle thing where you could be manifesting it. Now, as an individual, we just don't believe we have that kind of power. Not deep down, not in our subconscious. I can't possibly be manifesting these things into my life, especially the worldly stuff. Well, no, but the collective sure as hell can. And the collective can sure as hell choose to enslave themselves, ourselves, by not paying attention to what's really going on. If you studied basic psychology, you can see how easily things can get all mucked up because people don't speak up. They don't speak out. They don't fight for their own freedoms. They don't fight for their own things that they want, the things that they believe in. And sometimes if you're fighting too much, you're like, damn, why am I fighting this when I should just be able to have it? That's because we enslave ourselves. We choose to enslave ourselves. We point our fingers at these people and say, look what they've done to us. We let them do it. We let them do it because we get a little naive when they say, we have your best interest in mind when it comes to your health. We have your best interest in mind when it comes to your psyche. They don't give a damn about your spirit for the most part, but they'll tell you, we have your best interest in mind, and we nod our heads like sheep, yet something don't feel right. We turn the news on, and we're all killing each other. I look outside, and I see crickets, so I'm all confused. Because they understand this. Like, when I say they, it could just be a force that understands this concept. Put chaos in front of their eyes, therefore they'll believe it and create more chaos. Show them things, tell them whatever, and they'll believe it. Cause a fight and say there's a civil war going on, and once everybody agrees on it, it actually creates more civil war. It's an easy way to mess things up. I mean, imagine if you went out to a playground, right? And all the kids were playing and they were having a good time and everybody was real nice to each other. And you were just, kind of wanting to take over that playground. So you walk over to one side of the basketball court and you say, hey, Bobby said this about you. And you're talking to Tommy who doesn't believe what Bobby said. And then they confront each other. And then you got a crowd of people standing around and rumors starting. And then they go whisper in somebody else's ear, hey, Tommy said this about Bobby. And next thing you know, there's this big crowd around, everybody yelling at each other. Tommy and Bobby are fighting. And then the teacher finds out about it. And then there's a thing that goes over the intercom during class. And it's where everybody's talking about it. Meanwhile, the playground cleared out. Now you own it. You got all the toys and all the stuff. It's kind of a bad analogy, but that's what they do. Because they know if you believe something, even if you kind of not sure, because fear and uncertainty is the one thing that can start manifesting a bunch of crap. So how do we get to the keys to our own power? Or because I know a lot of us feel powerless. And how do we give our power away to certain things? Because we do it on a constant basis. I was listening to man, I forget the name of the guy who was talking about, he was talking about balance, about how we should, there was a power in responsibility, but there was also a power in and freedom in being irresponsible. It's like half and half. So you have to kind of do what you want. Like you have needs and you have wants. Your responsibility takes care of your needs. And once you do that, it balances out and you get what you want. But if you just stay and just take care of your needs all the time and never take care of what you want, then, it gets kind of mundane, right? And then if you just go after what you want all the time, you never take care of your needs, and then you're no good to yourself or anybody else. And so how do you maintain that balance? Well, you have to have something called belief, because it gets real contradictory and real complex, because you can't live the life that you want to live sometimes because you feel like you're enslaved. And I can tell you right now that I am a firm believer in that, because look what I've done to myself, right? I'm not going to lie to you. I've chased what I wanted for so long that I struggle to take care of my needs, right? And that's because I never understood that. I never understood that I need to do both. We don't have to lie to ourselves, right? We don't have to lie to ourselves and say that our responsibilities, even the mundane things, don't matter. Of course they matter. We don't have to not go after the things that we want either. The problem is, and what disempowers us from even getting to that balance, is the belief about ourselves, the belief about society, everything around us. The need for external validation. I think that's one of the most disempowering things on the planet. Now, everybody wants to be validated, and you should be. And if you're a good person and you care about others and you see somebody that needs validation, you should give it to them. But the need for it, it's really disempowering. That's something I've struggled with my whole life, But it's because of the way I grew up. It was the way I was treated as a child. It's not that my parents didn't love me or anything. Like my dad didn't love me. He loved me. But there was no validation of that love. I was just supposed to know it because he went out and provided for me. But hell, when I was a kid, I looked around and it didn't matter. So what I became to know and believe is that I had to earn my father's love somehow. And no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. And then I started feeling sorry for myself. And then eventually I started believing that I didn't deserve love. And then you just get lost in this victim mentality. And if it stays inside you over the years, imagine what kind of life you create for yourself if you truly do create what you believe. Not just a prison, but a place of emotional torture. So sometimes, Richard Allen Miller said, you got to change the movie. So how do we do that? See, I suffered so much with this stuff in my life, and that's how I stumbled upon magic and the occult and read things about astral travel, because it got to such a desperate place in my life that I felt powerless. I worked jobs, I built businesses, I had a family, marriage, all this other stuff, success, failure, but still didn't love who I was. And it kind of felt, at the end of the day, like just not enough. think it's time that we all start realizing our own responsibilities for the way that the world is now. And that we don't have to fix the world. We don't have to do any of that stuff. I don't think. And this is just me rambling in theory. I'm no guru. I'm just like you. But I think about this stuff, right? So we should go out into our communities and start from where we are. You know, we give as much love as we can to those around us and those that we care about, and that's our base and that's our foundation. And then when you get older, you either have a healthy dose of love as you leave the home or you don't. But what really matters to me is if I send my child or my friend or my partner or whoever out into the world when they leave me, do they believe in their own power and their own sovereignty and their own capabilities? Do they believe in that? Are they capable? Is their exterior world showing it? Because if not, then I have to keep helping them and telling them that they can do it until eventually, and it starts some type of inertia, right? Where their exterior world starts showing them that, hey, I can do this stuff. Hey, I am creating my own reality. I believe in myself and I deserve these things. And it sounds completely crazy and completely woo-woo, but I'm telling you, if enough people felt that kind of power in their lives, we would not be where we are today. And we definitely wouldn't take the word of these people that come on TV all the time and tell us who we are and how to think and what to do and who we should vote for and all this other stuff. And peer pressure wouldn't even be it wouldn't even exist. So I went through so much growing up, to so much self-doubt, so much loneliness, that I thought, that I believed that I would never have love in my life, deep down. Not the kind of love that would stay around anyways. Not the kind of love that would be there for you, you know? Or success. Which is something I'm still working on, by the way. I believe that I can be successful truly, and not just say it consciously, but deep down in your subconscious. Or the belief that I can live in a world that's harmonious, right? That's the biggest one that just doesn't feel like that's even possible, right? Based on our history and everything. But just the fact that I'm saying that right now is affecting things, and we don't understand the quantum realms. We don't understand quantum physics. We don't understand. We know what the double slit experiment's about. Well, what the hell? That should tell you. Your instant environment is what reflects you, what's inside you, what you believe, your observations. There's some kind of weird thing going on here. And I ask you, and I challenge you guys to experiment with this. As we all have been for a long time. There's people out there doing it. Mitch Horowitz, I'm just starting to think of names that are popping off in my head too. All these people, anyways, that are teaching us that we manifest stuff into our reality. And once we realize that, that's when stuff gets really hard. Because now you're into this spiritual walk, and you're into this walk of a creative being or a magician or a child of God or whatever you want to call yourself. And once you start saying, hey, I can do these things, then you start getting tested. Everything in the world comes against you to try to disempower you. Your own family, friends, the people that are close to you. It's not them, though. It's the voices that come through from these planes of the elementals and whatever you want to call them, trying to put pressure on you. Because when you think about a magician, you're like in this circle, man, and there's this big circle around you, and that circle is the ultimate symbol of protection and manifestation and personal power, etc. But what is the earth but a 3D magician circle that is putting pressure on you, that has a threshold? If you're into alchemy or growing plants or anything like that, some plants you actually have to kind of whip them a little bit to get them to grow. You know what I mean? We're in this alchemical boiling pot, kind of. That's every time we make a breakthrough, more pressure comes at us. But I'm challenging you, like when you make a breakthrough, don't just run straight to the next breakthrough. I wouldn't recommend it, because you're going to miss out on life. Stop, smell the roses. And if you pray for something and it comes around and it comes to you, don't doubt it. Take care of it. And see, that's the lesson I'm learning now. Take care of it. It's a garden. You can have as many gardens as you want, but if you don't keep taking care of them, they wither away. So, what is this thing called belief, right? It's the one thing that we can do when we can't do anything else. When you've done everything you feel like you can do and you're trying your best and nothing's happening, or it's just not happening fast enough, or you're not seeing the results, then you go to belief and faith. And that's where this comes in, and it's actually a law of magic. The letting go. Just like in the chat room, right? The letting go. Let go. Because you got to have faith and you got to believe in your energy and kind of this karma and ebb and flow. It's hard to believe in things that you can't see. It causes doubt, causes uncertainty. It's just like, which one are you going to give into? Which one empowers you, belief or doubt and uncertainty? You think about that. You really only have two choices. So here's the thing. We got our guest coming on our next segment here. Sonia Barrett is going to come on. We're going to talk to her about this. Should be a very interesting conversation. She has her own radio show on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles. She is the producer of a winning documentary, The Business of Disease. She talks about quantum physics, all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to be talking to her when we come back. We're going to take our first break. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Support the show, support the network. Well, stay with us.
paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
And I'd like to invite you to my radio broadcast, The Secret Teachings, airing 5 nights a week right here at midnight Pacific on the Fringe FM. Whether you enjoy history, the paranormal, symbolism, the occult, magic, parapolitics, or our annual Super Bowl show, our breakdown of the music entertainment industry, or our practical look at health, we have something for you that's unique, informative, and fun in rare form. Find us at facebook.com by searching facebook.com/The Secret Teachings. Find us online by searching www.thesecretteachings.info. Or you can email us at rdgable, rdgable, @yahoo.com. That's The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, right here at midnight Pacific on the
13th
Fringe
Amendment
FM.
to the United States Constitution abolish slavery and involuntary servitude.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Obscene Cuisine, the new microwave dinner that's so offensive, the Federal Communications Commission won't let us tell you what's in it. Obscene Cuisine. Look for it in the frozen food section of your local adult video store.
This is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, and you're listening to KPFK, The Fringe FM.
This is Dancing Dave from Surviving the System, and you're listening to The Fringe FM. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the best revenge is success.
Stardate, October 27th.
Hi, folks. These uncertain times can cause uncertain gut slowdown. Worry and fear can wreak havoc on our digestion, making it hard to feel optimum. Bloating, less energy, and occasional constipation can slow you down in your daily activity. Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea can help get things moving so you can get that boost of energy you need. Life Change Tea helps protect and defend your health from intruders. It's a weird time right now with all the uncertainty, so gear up and defend your health. Where do you go to purchase? Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. The specials are on the front page, and we have numerous supplements to help combat intruders. It's time to take charge of our health and to feel better in life. It's time to live. Again, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. It is so worth it. GetTheTea.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
This is Jason Lindgren from Crow 777 Radio, and you can hear us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night here on the Fringe FM.
Before we get into our new Skeptic Check episode, we just
This
want
portion
to
of the
thank
show is
all
being
of
brought to you by Ed's Occult Optometrists, makers of prescription crystal balls for nearsighted
This
fortune
is
tellers.
KPFK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Hey, Donald. YouTube recently banned our talk show host from their platform. Any idea why?
They're trying to take you out with bullshit.
Well put, Mr. President. KTLK, The Fringe FM.
You tune into this show at your own risk, because it leads to a state of mind, not a perception it will be, but one that is. I'm Ryan Gable, and this is The Secret Teachings. The analysis offered on this show is objective, removed from the emotional hysteria of the hive mind collective mob of coercive persuasion, the polar divisions in politics and religion, and those that exist in the paranormal, occult, and even in health. By simple observation and common sense, one may decipher the newspeak, doublespeak, and propaganda of ideological collectives intent on persuading the individual to abandon liberty through coercion and fear. On this show, we will speak to your heart and soul, opening a channel to spirit. And when you tune into this frequency, you are hearing The Secret Teachings, 5 nights a week on the Fringe FM, with a full archive at thesecretteachings.info.
Stardate October 27th.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play.
What you believe might not be. Step into the zone of the vast unknown. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, conspiracies and cover-ups. And to the paranormal we go.
I'm Jeremy Scott. Travel with me into the paranormal. Live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on the Fringe FM.
Sitting here thinking about how to pronounce our new acronym.
This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Uncle Ed's Molasses, the world's leading manufacturer of old-fashioned slow molasses. Remember, with Ed's, you can be sure your molasses will be slow because each and every batch is quality tested by the U.S. Postal Service.
And rant or anything like that on the show, but yeah, it's like I think we're trying to find what happened to the guest behind the scenes, but it's just that I don't know if any of you were ever raised by like I don't know, just somebody that was down in the dumps all the time. Just somebody that loves to be in pain or feel like a martyr or think the world's out to get them or just everything. Such a travesty. I'm not saying, this isn't about a pity party. I'm just trying to tell you how things affected me and how things created my reality, because I only have my story, right, that I know about. And so I had a father that loved me, but it was one of those things where he was a super guilt tripper, right? It's like if you ever slighted him or if he was working and you wasn't helping him or anything like that, yeah, he'd just guilt the hell out of you. My one and only son, he didn't do this for me and doesn't care and only cares about himself. And And, so after a while, you'd get to where you're just like, man, I can't do it. And you'd escape. You'd be like dreading to come back home. He wasn't that way all the time. It just optic rectitis. You know what I'm saying? Like optic rectitis is more, I guess, contagious than COVID. Right? And I love my father. My father taught me lessons that made me who I am today. He did instill self-belief into me and not to sit around and feel sorry for myself, but he would also try and really make you feel bad too. And it's kind of something that like I picked up on, and I was like, you know what? I'll never be that way. I'll never talk that way. I'll never, you know how we say that? We'll never be that way. We'll never be like our parents. We'll never talk to people like that or abuse people this way or whatever. And then one day you catch yourself doing it. You know? You catch yourself treating somebody that you love more than anything. Just like the way you were treated. How'd that happen? Because you don't really know what you believe. Like what you believe consciously and what you believe subconsciously are two different things a lot of times. They're just two different things. Sometimes they're close, right? So you may say consciously, oh, I'm a successful, good-looking individual, but deep down inside, you may look in the mirror and not really believe that at all. And so you need validation. You need someone to tell you who you are, someone to tell you how great you are, not because you're weak, not because you don't have power, you're not just as successful and as the next person or whatever, but because you've got some deep-seated programs that have been there since your childhood. And it's a sick cycle because you try to get away from it, and then you get around healthy people with healthy minds and emotions, and they don't want to be around you. And then that makes you feel less about yourself, and then everybody's got optic rectitis. And if you don't know what optic rectitis is, it's where your optic nerve gets tied up with your rectal nerve, and it gives you a shitty outlook on life. So most people, or a lot of people on this planet, have optic rectitis. And it is very contagious. And then if you're around the people that's what I should title the show, is belief in optic rectitis, right? But if you're around the people that you love and they've got optic rectitis too, man, then you're just in a bad situation. Or you're going to have to be one hell of a magician to get yourself out of that. I don't know. Is that when you have brown eyes? Yeah, that's exactly right. You guys in the chat are freaking crazy, man. Y'all are funny. But yeah, so then you're like, well, damn, what do I got to do to get out of this? So I got to be the positive person. So you be the positive person and you try to lift everybody up and set the example, which is where as I got older, I found myself doing in my family, being that person, you know. And I was thinking, well, I'll set the example. And that doesn't even work half the time. You can say, hey, man, at least, you know, somebody give you a sob story, and then you go, look, at least the grass is green, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then they go back into focusing on their pain again. So how do you get out of this stuff? Because this goes back to hermetics, right? If you can't get yourself to believe in good things, then on the inside, deeply on your subconscious, then hermetically what you have to do is change your exterior environment. Now, somebody actually did this for me. here recently, somebody really special. They understood this concept. And they said, you know what? I think you just need to change. You just need a change of environment. Because they were aware enough to not say, well, you just feel really crappy, and therefore it's causing you to be, you're creating a crappy environment. They were aware enough not to tell me that in that kind of way. They're just like, change your energy. So how are we going to do this? We'll change your environment, and it'll change your interior. And I'll tell you something. I went through quite a bit during that change. A lot of craziness, you know. But the change did occur. It was like this. It didn't occur like instantly, but it occurred. And not that I don't love the shack, but it was a damn dark place, I got to tell you. I do miss the crickets, though. I miss the crickets a lot. And the Arkansas night sky. There's too much light pollution here. But I think once you surround yourself with positive things and positive people and people that love you, and they start to have an effect on you, and it wobbles you a little bit. And you're like, well, this can't be real. And so you lash out and you test them and push them to see if it's real. You know, it's kind of like when you have one of those abused animals. I had one of those last year that came around the house, and you can tell he's been kicked around a little bit. Now, we tried to take this dog in a couple of times, but he wouldn't stay because I don't think he trusted that. I don't think he wanted to put too much stock and effort and time into our family because maybe he couldn't trust that. See, I guess where I'm getting at too, because we were talking about belief earlier, and this is all conscious thought and psychology stuff here. It's not really astral travel stuff, but if we can recognize other people's pain too and help to transmute that, then we also change the world, right? We don't just point our fingers at them and say, you know, you're the problem, you're negativity, and you're this. I mean, you don't want to be around it all the time, and sometimes, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, kind of thing. You know, then eventually you're like, all right, I got to change my environment, but not right off the bat. Not just assume that all negative people are gonna affect you and make things bad in your world. And that's the problem, man. Like, there is a lot of gurus out there. They're saying, do this for yourself. And if you're around negativity, run from it. Run for the hills. Well, you start running from negativity every time you see it. And eventually you're going to be by yourself in your own little bitty lighthouse, aren't you? With your rainbow ceilings and your shag rugs. But all you got to do is just, there's a magical thing that you can do. If somebody's having a bad day and doesn't really believe in themselves, it's just kind of like help them believe in themselves that day. You don't have to run from them because they're having negative, they seem negative, or they don't get you. But after a while, you have to stop and be like, all right, how much energy am I giving to this? Because it all goes back to that circle, I think, like where you need to be balanced so you can create your reality. There's this pattern of the Trestle Board. Have you guys ever heard of that? Paul Foster Case and the Rosicrucians and the Masons have this. I'll read it to you here in just a second, but back when Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism wasn't that super evil and they weren't trying to take over the world, there was a creed of the magician, of the hermit. a creed of empowerment and how you created your own world, and being a magician, as far as Freemasons go, that part of magic was trying to teach you responsibility and how to really live the best life you can live for yourself and for others. And it was all about energy and some really secret stuff in the Kabbalah. And all the rituals that you did were all about the raising of to a point to get to Tifereth. But it didn't seem that way. It seemed like the metaphors were so just basic. But that's what it was about the balance, right? And if you ever look at the Tree of Life, if you ever see a glyph of the Etz Chaim, you'll see that. The sun there in the middle. And that's where we got to be. That's what we got to strive to be, is the sun. All the while transmuting things in the moon, the subconscious, our dream life, the astral realm, these places where we work things out, where the deepest parts of our pain and transmutation happens. That's what all that, there's some big stuff there, but that's why we say keep a dream journal, right? Do introspection. Make sure you relax and take care of yourself, so you can really focus and pay attention when you're traveling consciously in these places. Now, I did a ritual Halloween night. It was probably the freakiest thing that I have ever went through in my entire life. Now, I'm not quite sure. I mean, since it's over, I can definitely talk about it. Talk about the thing that scared me. But I had to face down some really hardcore, I'm talking about hardcore fear here. It wasn't what you think. It wasn't like the fear of death. It wasn't the fear of being alone. Which, I mean, we all have that. Like, right? That's part of it. But the Fringe Fest kind of was happening, and it was like 11:30. And I do my thing, and I got this new toy I'm going to show you guys. It's pretty cool. It's a special item. It's made for magicians, by magicians. It's coming soon, by the way. Probably in a week or so will be the official launch of it. But I'm using this thing, and it has part of this thing. It's got a black mirror on it. And if you've ever scryed into a black mirror, then you might know what I'm talking about. Now, what happened, I mean, I can't really explain. I'm going to try to explain it, but I know we're at the top of the hour, so I think I don't want to start going down this road about what happened. But when we come back, I'll see if I can get Night Stalker on, too, since we can't find our guest. And we'll go through, I'll take you kind of through the end processes of a magic ritual that really I was facing down something. Not summoning a demon to do my bidding, but facing them. And so you guys can see what, like, maybe understand that it's really not that bad. It's not as crazy as you think it is, but it was pretty intense and pretty scary. I'm not going to lie to you. There are certain parts of it that I can't talk about because I just can't, but I didn't sacrifice anything or anything like that. But I think you might find it interesting. Boy. Yeah, I don't know if I can ramble without another hour. Let's see if we can get Night Stalker on here and see if we can bring him on. I don't know if he's working or not. But also make sure you go get the app, the Fringe FM app. It's on the Google Play Store. It's also on the App Store. It's also on Alexa or the iTunes App Store. You can leave shout outs. You can use it for the alarm clock. Good stuff. We'll be right back.
listening to KPFK, the Fringe FM.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Introducing Shadow Light Tarot from Waking Canvas, the Fringe FM's new contributing artist Eric Tesey. This hand-illustrated black and white self-published deck serves as a reinvention of the tarot never before witnessed. Each of the several suits of this 88-card deck lineup form an infinite panoramic scene. Even the included visual companion guidebook is entirely hand-illustrated cover to cover with beautiful visuals and esoteric symbols and artwork. The newly released deck comes in a custom magnetic box with its own travel pouch. The Shadow Light Tarot Premium Deck and its travel-sized mini deck Wonderlight Tarot are both available now from wakingcanvas.com. If you use the code word FRINGE, that's F-R-I-N-G-E at checkout, you'll receive an extra 10% off your entire order. To discover more, including a free reading and time lapses of all the illustrated artwork, make your way over to wakingcanvas.com today. That's wakingcanvas.com.
So, you love talk radio, then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Tired of going out and having fun on Friday nights? Perfect. Because that's when our show, Shift Happens, airs live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 9 p.m. Central, right here on the Fringe FM. Get there while you can status.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Nudist Colony and Swap Meet, where not only can you take your clothes off, but you can sell them too. To get to Ed's Nudist Colony and Swap Meet, just follow the signs until you see a whole bunch of naked people standing around bickering over
This is
prices.
KTLK Digital Broadcasting, where the normal and paranormal collide. It's the Fringe FM.
You're listening to KTLK.
This is Dancing Dave from Surviving the System, and you're listening to the Fringe FM. Remember, ladies and gentlemen,
Please
the
listen.
best revenge
Now is not the time to
success.
fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves! Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
Brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Ahoy there, GG here from Shift Happens. Do you like to boogie down to topics such as ufology, the occult, and the mysteries behind our reality? Well, I invite you to join us every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 10 p.m. Eastern, as we like to punch that curiosity button and tickle that fancy. We tickle that fancy, but yeah, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but there's certainly a lot of tickling going on over here at Shift Happens.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by the House of Unbreakable Toys, where we guarantee our toys will remain unbroken for 25 years or until your kid gets his or her hands on them, whichever comes first.
the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker. Hey, this is Macon, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Back to Lighting the Void. We're still trying to get our guest on. I got the Night Stalker on here.
Yo. What's happening, brother?
I love you, man. You know that? You're like the
Same,
best.
brother.
You're the best.
I try.
You're my second favorite person on the earth.
That's fair.
Maybe third.
Who's the first? Can we ask third? No.
My first would be Corbin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, clearly. That's fair. I'll take number 2 or 3.
The second one's none of your business. And third is you.
That's cool. 3's good. Lucky number 3.
Yeah, right. Like so.
I'll take it.
I think I got to tell the story. I'm going to try to get the guest. Anyway, so I'm going to try to get our guest on. But so Halloween night, I can't really tell you the whole thing because it doesn't. It's kind of like a thing you don't do.
Too sexual?
No. But so I got this toy. I'm looking into the black mirror thing. Trying to scry.
Yeah.
And what I'm basically doing is trying to face down the fear that's inside me, right? And when I do that, I'm talking to it. So I want you to imagine like a black mirror that's got, like smoke bowling up on both sides of it. It's a dark obsidian mirror, kind of. And you're looking into it. And
Where did you get this? Where do you get a black mirror?
I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you in a minute. I got to show you a picture of this thing. This is my new toy here. But anyways, so you could use your phone if you want, but it doesn't really work as good. And this thing is all you can see. It's so dark. It's so dark that all you can see are the whites of my eyes, right?
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Dude, that's nuts.
Cool.
So,
that's cool.
So it's like I've got I've got a candle. I've got a chalice burning. I've got a cauldron burning, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
Burning frankincense. And so you got the black mirror, and then you got smoke coming up in front of it, and then 2 candles flanking the black mirror. And so I lean in towards the mirror, and I'm like, I can't see anything. The mirror's so dark. And then I start focusing, and all I can see are the whites of my eyes. So imagine solid blackness and 2 white eyes that are looking just like directly into your eyes, you know?
Yeah. That's cool.
So, like, I say my incantation and my prayer, and I do my protections first. And so now I don't want to face any, like, demons or call anything in, but I do want to face the voices of the fear, all the stuff that's in my head, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I was like, and I won't tell you the exact words I used, but in a long story short, I'm telling this thing, I see you. I know who you are. And you're not my master, I'm yours. And dude, its eyes got wider, but mine did too, you know? Like wider. Yeah. So imagine them like the eyes getting like bigger, dude, and it's dark in the room. And I get this.
Like picture in the room spinning and like you kind of staring into the eyes and like seeing deeper, and there's like a whole universe and you fall under this.
No, dude. I get the creepiest feeling that I've ever had, right? Like, you know, like when you're a kid and you have a nightmare and you have that super just rush of fear that comes over you.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a lot of grimoires, and they'll tell you, you know, when you feel those things, that spirit's there. And I was like, oh shit, right? It's here, you know, so.
But you were trying to talk to your subconscious.
But yeah, exactly.
Like, okay.
So it's testing me at this time, right? It's testing me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, buddy, I'm here.
Yeah, Jesus.
Now what?
So what happens?
You know?
Yeah, what happens?
Well, I pretty much tell it. I said, I know who you are. I felt you since I was a kid, and I'm done with you. And then I did my kind of incantation and my not incantation, but exorcism, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm exercising myself. Now a lot of the prayers that I prayed were Christian prayers because I grew up Christian. But it was the first time that I ever summoned anything that was kind of like inside me, not in a circle or a triangle.
Wow.
And I've had spirits show up before and feel that fear, right? But not like this, dude. This was heavy.
So this is a little foreign to me. I've never done anything like this. This is definitely heavy. So like, this is definitely not any type of external entity. It's definitely just your subconscious manifesting like as.
Well, that's the thing. Like what's an external entity?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. So like, for all we know, our consciousness could be like made up of all these like external kind of leech, like the same way our physical body is really comprised of like a bunch of different like clusters of different organisms and microorganisms. For all we know, there's these little micro consciousnesses that are like latched on to our own consciousnesses that you're actually are exercising some kind of like external internal thing. You know what I mean?
But it also kind of like backfired on me in a way, because it was like I was fighting this thing. Yeah. You know how when you get like when you get afraid and you get adrenaline rush and it kind of gives you that fight or flight thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm too big. I don't flight. I don't run.
No.
I can't run, you know? So, I mean, I can run. I run pretty quick for a big guy, actually. So
I've never really had like the fight or flight stuff like in real life too much, but in my dreams, I always fight immediately. That's my first instinct. I don't know about anyone else, but if something bad's happening, my instinct is to pounce on it and just melee it until I wake up. I don't know if anyone else does that.
So, but here's the thing. But usually, yeah, right. Even if you start feeling a little scared, you get wiry, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah, you get a little hyper. You're the squirrel. That's what squirrels do too. So I'm like a big squirrel. Imagine like a big squirrel. You know.
Like, what are you talking about? It's pretty much the new. I'm not caught up at all with it, but it's the new plot of like the current run of Incredible Hulk in the Marvel Comics. It's like the most critically acclaimed comic out right now. It's like taking a real big horror turn, like for comics, but basically, it's treating the Hulk as if he's some kind of like separate entity, some kind of like separate subconscious voice inside of Bruce Banner. You know, and like the horror, like they call it the Green Door, is this like actual portal you can get to like commune with these entities that are inside your own consciousness, and they treat it as if they're real entities and stuff. I'm not caught up, so I'm not sure how it plays out, but similar.
Man, I think our guest is actually trying to come on here. Let me see if I can.
Here we go.
Try to get her in again. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's like. Yeah. I'm just saying. So if you've read Gordon White's book about summoning spirits, he has a thing in there where you do the Crossroads Ritual. You know, the one that everybody's scared about and talks about. And, now, and he says that in there too. He says, you know, it's not like the devil's going to show up, you know, and with a pitchfork, but you do you feel the fear, you feel
presence. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, it is probably it's super trippy.
And you got pictures of this Black Mirror and everything? You have like photos and stuff?
I can show you a photo of it now if you want. And drop it in the chat.
Yeah. That's trippy,
Sonia finally made it.
Oh my God.
Sonia finally made it. All right, so
I got
All right.
lost in the matrix.
That was crazy, wasn't it? They got the sound got muted on y'all's end too there for a second. So, all right. So our guest finally made it on here. How do you say your last name again? I don't want to say it wrong because I know I will.
Oh, it's Sonia Barrett, Barrett.
Okay. So you're an executive producer of this documentary, The Business of Disease, and you're the host and producer of the radio show, The Expansion Zone, on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles. And you are known for your cutting-edge insights, with much of it supported by quantum physics and theoretical physicist Dr. Amit Goswami. We've actually talked to him on the show, too. And he's referred to you as a true mystic. And so... It's good to have you on here. I tried to get you on here earlier. I just don't know. I guess we get mix-ups on here all the time. I blame it on Night Stalker. It's his fault.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. I'll take the blame for it. It's good to have you, Sonia.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and well, at least I'm here now. I'm so sorry though.
It's okay.
Hosting a show, I completely understand when this happens.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. But a lot of people talk about you as the person. I was trying to talk to people about it, but people say like you talk a lot and inspire a lot of people when it comes to recognizing exactly what kind of boundaries we put in our lives based on our perceptions and beliefs. And you hear that a lot, and people say, "Oh, I've heard all this before," but I really don't think people understand just how powerful it is and the science behind it. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. The boundaries that we place on our lives, absolutely. Well, we live in an experience, in just looking at our world alone, that projects to us all day long ideas, and I like to say suggestions about who we are, what reality is, or what it shouldn't be, or what it can be. So we're basically getting a lot of instructions all day long, and we tend to pass that kind of information on to our children. And the limitations in a way become very generational, because you're passing down beliefs and restrictions. So it definitely is quite deep. It's much deeper, I think, than some people believe. And sometimes it does seem like it's a little bit of a topical and a common statement to say, yeah, well, we limit ourselves, we create boundaries, but most people have no idea the level of boundaries that are actually created in their lives. So absolutely.
And how do you go about getting rid of something like that? Because I was reading something on that the other day. I actually was reading about how I was going through this cycle, because I was looking up my astrology and an ephemeris and stuff, and it was talking about exactly what you just said, like ancestral cycles of pain or fear that needed to be released, like stuff that's been handed down through generations, Right.
Yeah. I mean, and again, very similar to a computer to some degree, the kind of information, the kind of data that gets recorded in our biology, in our genes. And I think a lot of people are not aware of the fact that history, the experiences that our family had, or have had, even mother, father, and so on, how that gets recorded in us and to some degree passed down. It doesn't mean that we're stuck with it, but I think when an individual is completely unaware, or maybe have a little bit of an awareness, but not aware enough to a point of really paying attention, really noticing these limitations, I think that's where the challenge comes in. And often people like to be in denial to some degree. We like to lie to ourselves. Sometimes it's not intentional, but we are so busy most times trying to live up to social expectations or social programming, or those things that are acceptable and socially. And because of that, people sometimes will overlook those things that are actually there. So that's how we end up being, kind of stuck with the life that we live, the decisions that we make choices based on all of those beliefs that are there. So awareness and being open and being able to tell ourselves the truth about what we see with ourselves in the moment, all of those things become extremely important in wanting to make any of these changes. So I think that's key, is truth, being able to just be honest with yourself, to thine own self be true, not for blame or not for shaming yourself or any of that. But you can't really make changes for yourself if you can't just be honest about where you are in this moment, where you are in the things that you're experiencing in your life, what those limitations are, and maybe finances, maybe relationships. It all comes down to, can I stop and can I just see the truth of how I even got here, to this moment in the life that I'm living? Can I see the trail that led me here? I think that starts to open up possibilities for change.
Yeah, and then I ask myself too, when we get to those moments, like I was like thinking, how am I going to get this program out of me? Because you feel like it's been so. If you look at it that way, your head kind of says, "Man, this thing is." Once you recognize
it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it can be overwhelming when we see it that way, because the thing that I say to folks is that it really isn't about trying to I've got to get rid of all these programs. It doesn't really quite work that way. I think when things present themselves to us, I think it's in the moment when things, one by one, whatever it is in the moment that presents itself to us about our life, and then you work on things as they show up, one at a time. You take that opportunity to examine those moments, those things, because that's going to allow you to see more about yourself. The other thing is that our design, the design of this vehicle, this body we're in, is really about being able to program it. We're habitual creatures. Let's look at it that way. We're creatures of habit. We are creatures of pattern behavior. So it's not necessarily, well, I'm not going to be programmed anymore. It's part of the whole process as to how we function, and our brain looks for patterns all the time. So it's realizing, well, what are the programs? What are the things that are limiting me? When they show up, is being able to look at that. So you're basically rewriting, those programs. You're just changing them to maybe something, a perception or an understanding that has more latitude in terms of instead of being so limited. But yes, that's just it. Everybody is programmed. You just need to learn to become the programmer and not just have a lot of external information being projected and establishing programs in you that are limiting, but you become the aware programmer of your life.
Yeah. Wow. That's kind of like the same thing as being the magician too. People look at that stuff and they're like, oh, it's kind of creepy or whatever, but really it's not. They're using they understood those things. So we understand this stuff now, I think, as a science too. I mean, it's getting more scientific, honestly, with quantum physics and places like IONS and places like the Monroe Institute, where and people that do dream work, and they see where you can actually see all this stuff that's buried inside of us. And it's like its own realm of problems and places. It's like the other world,
Absolutely. Life is a science. I mean, it's just, different levels of science. And I think sometimes Again, another limitation that maybe we often have is how we perceive science or we perceive technology in these little boxes. But all of life, all of creation, this concept about reality or concept of reality is all a science, and also, a highly advanced, technology. I can't even say highly advanced because it goes beyond that, but that is the mother of all technologies, is reality, and how we are experiencing it, how we're interfaced with this idea that we call reality. How are we having a relationship with being alive, with reality? It's all of those realizations, I think, that we have to come to, and not make everything so mysterious and way out there, because really nothing is really truly way out there. I think it's just where people are in what they're allowing themselves to see. It's also about people's comfort zone. Some people are uncomfortable going outside of their religious beliefs, or or whether it be their new age beliefs. I mean, lots of times people try to put reality in a box. I always like to say there are people that like to have some set boundaries in terms of what reality is and what it isn't, and what's possible and what's not. So those people tend to, oh no, well, that's not possible, or no, it can't be that. And again, it's based on their own comfort zone. That's what religion does. Religion provides people with a level of comfort, and they don't really need to stretch outside of that, because they've got this packaged understanding or belief. And that's all they, for some people, that's all they need. They don't want to do the extra work to begin to obviously to understand more, deeper levels, is going to definitely shake up one's world. It's going to shake up your world. And if it shakes up your world, what does that mean? Well, it means that you are in for a ride in terms of change, in terms of changes in your life, in terms of changes with yourself. You become more responsible for your life, for yourself. You really become truly the god of your life. And so I think that people are conditioned to not be responsible for themselves, not be completely responsible for themselves, especially spiritually, or in many different ways. Even in our just basic system with government, people are basically programmed to believe that someone else always knows what's best for them, what's better for them. But you're not capable enough of knowing what's best for you. So we set rules and guidelines and regulations for you, because somebody needs to be in charge of you, and you get a little piece of what should I say? You get a little latitude or area to play in. That allows you to feel like you are in charge of yourself, but really you've given your power over to someone else. That's how a lot of this game has been operating. That's how a lot of, people are invested in the game. It's, it's been going on like that for a very long time.
Yeah. And, I was talking about the beginning of the show too, how like the media, most of our lives, I believe this too, like if we never really watch the news, and I'm not saying deny what's going on in the world, but most of us out here are just living our normal lives, doing our normal thing. It's not as chaotic and as crazy as things are, seem to be. But, so the news and the media and all this stuff and social media, it's meant to make us aware of things. But nowadays it just seems like there's definitely some type of agenda behind stuff that always has some type of another agenda behind it. And then if we're constantly watching this stuff, well, what are we being programmed to see? The world's in chaos. It's coming to an end, et cetera, et cetera. And then we all believe that. And now you got the superconscious programming the world, and it's like perpetual cycle, you know?
Yes, and it just goes, you're right, it just goes on and on. Well, there's a narrative that's being spun, and the media helps to ensure that that narrative is, you know, people are getting their upload of that particular narrative, whether it be, it's always some sort of fear. I mean, fear is generally always involved because it's, you know, it's how you control people, is to really keep them in a state of fear in some way or the other, in some sort of state of survival. And people get addicted also to hearing about the fear, and they get addicted to, they get addicted to an upload of fear and survival. So they're always afraid, whether it's this pandemic or not. People are always going through some sort of fear crisis about their own lives in terms of maybe the economy, you know, or health, or personal tragedies, personal experiences, you know, car accidents, all of those things, because you're constantly reminded and bombarded with that. You know, I've talked about this before, but even just driving in your car, I remember doing that, just driving, and I have my radio on, and I hear this commercial, and it's jolting, and it's this car crash, and it's really an ad for insurance. And I thought, this is just insane. You know, yeah. You probably heard it. It's just this horrible crashing sound. And so people are constantly being stimulated with some sort of fear. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, you got to make sure you have your insurance. Oh yeah, better make sure you're wearing your seatbelt. Better make sure you've got your helmet on. You know, it's danger, Will Robinson all day long. The news, you know, how many people got shot and killed, or who broke into whose apartment. I mean, it's just constant. Or right after that, it's an alarm company, a security company for your home, telling you. Oh, and then they'll have a burglar breaking in the ad, and the people scared, and in the closet, the child or whoever it is that's home calling, and then the security company, you know, comes on and says, well, they'll protect you. So you see why people are in this constant state of panic and fear and survival all the time.
There's some medication right after that that'll take away your fear.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and there's some right.
Yeah. You got to finish it up with some sort of medication. I'm surprised they don't have a lot of the medications in just gummy bears.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, and it's wild.
Imagine if we had commercials that showed us the truth about what we were doing, though, in a sense. Like,
yeah.
You know, if you do this every day, like Bob Proctor or somebody coming on saying that you can manifest this into your life. Just use, I mean, that's not really going to do anything or make anybody any money, but it would empower some people and change the planet, you know.
Some people would probably be empowered, but I tell you what, the brainwashing has gone on for so long.
Yeah.
You're going to always get some people, unfortunately, it probably might be the majority, based on what I've seen with in this madness, that will be less trusting of that, because, again, we're so used to an adverse situation. It's easier for us to accept, you know, something that could happen to us than something good, or as we would say, that could happen to us. People are just kind of that way. So they're more skeptical of that. But if you tell them that, you know, something could go wrong with them, they sort of easier fall into that, because that's you know, that's been the way it is. And part of that is because, again, we have a savior program. Somebody is always coming to save us. Religion has presented that. Our system continues to present that. Someone else is going to save us. So people do are looking for someone to save them. And, as we see with the election and stuff at this time, and it's gone on all the time like that. That's what people are hoping, that somebody will save them. Somebody will be responsible for them. Somebody will take care of
Somebody
them.
will fix it. Yeah.
Thank you. Somebody will fix it. That's the kind of programming that people are working with.
Yeah, and really, realistically, if we all just focus on the presidential election and not our own electoral offices and our local communities and everything else, are we really utilizing the system it was designed for? No, they fixate on the presidential election, which has all kinds of different stuff that can happen. And a lot of times the president, things that they can't do. And you know what I think what it is too is, so I swear, I think we're like manifesting crazier and weirder and different situations when it comes to the presidential office, just to try to like show just how silly it gets sometimes. I'm not denying the power of politics at all, but
we do a good job of that. That's for sure.
It's like
stressing
really
ourselves out. Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be president next? Gilbert Godfrey? Like I don't know.
Well, what's
that's going
possible. On. Mickey Mouse. I mean, anybody can run for president. And I think I always like to remind people, I said, these are people being elected basically to run the matrix, this matrix here, this matrix system, this world. You're electing people just to run that system. That's kind of basically it, but it doesn't mean that you are confined to that structure. Sure, that's one system, that you're running around in. That's one level of the matrix that you're running around in with all your tools that and all the things that register you to that construct. But certainly it is not the totality of who you are. That's just another level of the game. And people get swallowed into that level of the game and see it as the totality of the game experience. But there's, obviously there's so much more, because we're so capable, just a vast amount of power. And that is the reason why we have systems in place that curtail, that really ensure that most people do not wake up to their power, to the truth of their power. Because if they did, it would change the game. The game couldn't work the way that it does if everybody was in a deep level of awareness. There'd be nobody to govern. There would be nobody to that would allow them to have that certain level of experience in the game. So it's slave and master, victim and victimizer, ruler and subject. It's that dance that we're constantly doing, and it is part of the human game. That's another part that I'd like to point out to people. Everything that we're doing and are experiencing and have experienced, not just individually but collectively in the history of the planet and human beings, it is all part of experiencing what is possible for a human being in the human experience. So everything counts. Everything is part of it. Now, I think the other level of realization, though, is even though everything is possible, it still and everything counts. It's all part of the human thing. But there is a point there where, a person can awaken to wanting to move beyond the limiting experiences in the human game. Yeah. You wake up to wanting to emerge into something much more expansive, something on a more elevated level, not because that was good or bad. It's because you're just not there anymore. Time to move on to a more expansive and less limiting level of the human experience. So I always like to point that out to people, because sometimes there are people that say, well, this shouldn't be happening, and Why would God allow this to happen? And then the same people, especially if they're religious people, will say God is everything. Well, and then you think, well, if God is everything, if that's the case, that means then everything just simply is. It's like you can't say God is these things. God is everything, but just not that. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So I think it's the contradiction and the teachings that they're attached to that kind of throws everybody off. But if we can all just come to a realization that, okay, everything is allowed. Well, why would God allow it? Because, people say, well, do we have free will? And I always go, apparently we do. Have you seen some of the stuff that people do? Apparently,
yeah.
We do. We're allowed to. Now, the reaction, or as some people might say, the consequences, because I don't think anybody's punishing anybody. I just think for every action, there's going to be a reaction. Are you willing and are you ready to accept what comes from your action? I think in the end, that's basically what it is. Nobody's stopping anybody from doing anything. You can do anything you want to do, but just know this, that your action is going to result in a response, in an action that you might not want to deal with. So I think that's what we have to look at.
Yeah, because some people say, it's funny, we're having this conversation today. Some people say, well, just do this and trust the universe. But in reality, it's like, well, if I do this, if I throw a rock, it's going to make a ripple in the water, So
right.
I can't expect everything just to be perfect. There could be a balance in there. It doesn't have to be so polar, but don't be naive either, So I don't know. I get what you're saying too, but I think the people that understand what you're talking about most, you kind of discuss in your film, which was a pretty big hit, actually, The Business of Disease, where you talk about the marketing, how marketing and belief systems affect our health and the body's ability to heal itself too, and all the stuff that they do because they're aware of these things. Like these companies and stuff, the marketers out there, they know all this stuff. They know how to affect people psychologically,
Absolutely. That's all part of the study. You have to, look at Edward Bernays, who was known as the father of public, relations of marketing. And, it's all about psychology, understanding how the human mind works, how humans are, what our weaknesses are. And it definitely becomes, in a way, what should I say? In a way, it's a little bit of a setup, because knowing how humans are as far as marketing, then you turn around and you market according to what you understand about human beings, but then human beings end up responding in a way that you hope they respond. So then they sort of end up staying in a certain frame of mind or a certain frame of operation because of the ongoing marketing of a particular behavior or way of thinking. Do you see what I mean? It's this sort of setup. I cannot think of another word right off the bat. That kind of perpetuates the same kind of behavior and thinking, sort of gets stuck in a particular place because of how they've done marketing. Edward Bernays, look at when they wanted to have when the cigarette companies felt that they were losing money on the market there with women and not smoking, and they needed women to really be given permission. That's the word I'm going to use, because that's what it was, given the permission to smoke. So then they came out with those Virginia Slims, which was supposedly a little bit more dainty, was more feminine. There was more, it's
showed
more
ads of like a supermodel smoking a Virginia Slim, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then this, phallic reference or whatever psychologically that they tied to it, so it's, oh my gosh. These people get paid so much to just dissect the human mind and the brain, and then
It
just
never stops either. Like the owner or the head of Netflix is Bernays' great grandnephew, and he's also Freud's great grandnephew.
right.
Yeah.
That he's related to Freud. Yeah, oh yeah.
So
well,
it never stops.
yeah.
It's still going.
Oh yeah, look at how well Netflix has done. You know, you remember when they came out with those DVDs and through the mail. They destroyed Blockbuster and Hollywood
took the whole
Video.
business down. Yep.
Took it down. And yet when you look on, you think that was brilliant what they did. When they came out with the DVDs, and you can't help it, you have to look. And that's how I feel about the game, particularly the political game, and those who have also appointed themselves rulers and runners of this matrix. I think they have been just brilliant because they have continued this. They've gone on and on and on for hundreds of years, for probably thousands of years. When you look at even generational politicians, or you look at politicians who've been groomed, and then you trace their history and you see who they're connected. Yeah, bloodlines. So this is a masterful system, and generational wealth. There is a masterful system underneath it all. And I personally have preferred to go ahead and to see more clearly what I'm working with, as opposed to really spending my time being angry with them, because I can spend my time being angry and resentful, or I can try to decode or to see what you're doing, what you have done, and how it's even impacted me in order to unravel my own self and my mind. More importantly, unravel my mind from this network of limitations, programming, control, all of that.
I'll tell you what makes me feel powerless sometimes too is like, and I don't want to be powerless because I hate that they even think that way. But we got to fix this too, I think, because we look around and we're like, oh, you and I see this, but there's so many people that don't. And because they don't, it's run rampant. I can't tell the whole world about it. I can't show it to them. What do I do?
No.
It's never going to be enough. Like they're always going to, and you start to feel kind of helpless and hopeless because you can't get the message across to everybody. And you feel like, well, I'm just going to live in this world. And then you can see it's like maybe they have that over you too. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. And I think the idea also, feeling helpless and also trying to tell everybody, everybody isn't here to be free like that. That's the truth. We are all free agents here. We've come here as free agents for different kinds of experiences. And that became clear to me. So beings have come for different kinds of experiences. So everybody isn't really here to be free. Not the kind of free that you're talking about, an awareness, which is why they'll stone you when you try to free some people. You try to give some people information, they'll throw you under the bus. They'll turn you in because they're not hearing what you think, what you're saying. They're hearing something completely different. So our eardrums, the sound, how it hits our ears, the vibration, how it translates even into the words that they're hearing. It sounds crazy, but they're not always hearing. They're not really hearing what you think, what you're saying. There is like a completely different interpretation. And why is that? Is because they are already sort of wired and programmed and stuck in a particular perception that, and so their brain basically has a filtering system there. It's filtering according to what? According to what any of us can accept as a possibility. The brain filters. If you can't accept outside of this particular boundary, your brain, and it's happening to all of us, will only see as far as we will allow our perceptions to expand. And that's how the brain is filtering, because the brain, we have access to everything. There's everything that is going on in this moment in time. There are, as you know, unlimited levels of realities that exist in this moment in time, this very space that we're in. We are seeing, though, however, most of us are seeing just a one-dimensional view of reality. We're seeing what we think is right before us. Every now and then you get people that may glimpse something else. And when I say glimpse something else, I'm talking even down to the tiniest thing of something that you catch at the corner of your eye and you think something ran across the carpet or the floor. And then you just sort of dismiss it. We get little glimpses, but then we shrink right back into, it's probably
must have been in my eyes or something. Right.
Exactly. And so that's what the brain knows, that you are not really interested in seeing outside of the spectrum that you're programmed for, you're wired for. But when we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission, and we start to be open and we start to really question, well, geez, I was looking for this and I could not find it, but then I came back looking in the same place and there's the thing I've been looking for. Now, was it always there? Was I in another version of reality? When we can start stretching our minds like that, to entertain that we are experiencing multiple levels of or multiple versions of reality, other, realms, other spaces where it looks similar. When you can start entertaining that, guess what? The brain starts to get the message from the mind that, okay, we can start to remove a little bit of those filters and show you more. But it's up to us. We have to give ourselves permission. We have to give the word that we want to see more. We want to experience more. We want to climb higher.
I'm totally with you, and I wish we had a little bit more time to talk, because I want to climb higher for sure. Yeah. So how can people find you on the web, Sonia?
Well, my website is therealsoniabarrett.com, therealsoniabarrett.com. You can connect with pretty much everything that I'm doing on that website. And theexpansionzone.com is for the radio. Well, it's the archive and all of that for the radio show. And thebusinessofdisease.com is the website for the film. But the realsoniabarrett.com is the core website that will connect you with everything else that I do, the free monthly teleconference and all of those things. That's so cool. And I'm glad I got to talk to you, because I was like, I was worried. I was like, I wanted to talk to her too, but it was cool. I'm sorry. I'll come back another time, so you can always. I just will make sure that I'm present.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Night Stalker, thank you for coming on too. We got to roll out of here, guys. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable's coming up next. More on the way on the Fringe FM. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, same time, same channel. Good night, you guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.